All righty. I'm getting in my position. Hey, there I am with Dan over my shoulder again. He's right there.
You sure? I might not be on that camera.
Oh, you mean I might be on this camera?
You might
Oh, wait, let me check the tally lights. Oh, that's right. We don't have tally lights. Do I need I'm not going to wear my jacket. I'm going to wear my jacket. Should I go get mine?
No, you don't have to.
I feel so underdressed now.
You know, tally lights wouldn't be a bad thing.
This is before Behind the Media.
This is when we come in and
for our show.
Yep. Oh wait, where's my script? I know I have it. I printed it.
Oh.
I have it. It's printed.
I like Fridays. Do you like Fridays, Jimmy?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wait, what? That seemed a little hesitant.
This, I will say, as a sports fan, this weekend I don't have anything to watch until Sunday night. So I'm going to be cleaning out the garage. It's going to be a rainy day.
It's time for all.
Yeah.
You don't do any of that work.
Right. I'm sorry. That's what I'll be doing this weekend. So am I looking forward to it? Sure I am. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, I like weekends because there's a weekend mentality, right? People tend not to.
Hey Dan.
What?
In your long career.
Yes.
How many times did you work just weekends?
I did.
Okay. In the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, I worked a lot of weekends.
I worked mostly weekends. 20 years of weekends.
But there is still a weekend mentality.
And
where
in
the
sports,
rest of the
that's
world,
the busy. You're right.
The rest
exactly
of the world has kind of slowed down a little bit, and so it just doesn't seem as anxious.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Don't forget, I worked 20 years Wednesday through Sunday, where the weekend was really when you were the busiest.
Okay, Mr. Weekend Man.
Sorry. I guess, look, I was, I only had one weekday gig late in my gig at Portland, Maine, the last, I think, 2 years.
By the way, do you like my Miami Vice look?
Do you think people even know Miami Vice? It's like, okay, does that make me Don? What's his name?
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson?
Yes.
Wait, my hair.
My hair.
Yes.
For those of you who are too young to know what we're talking about, Google it and you'll find out.
Hit it,
Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're tuned in to Behind the Media. Dan Lothian and Jimmy Young bring 70 years of award-winning broadcast experience to the table. From newsrooms across the country, behind anchor desks and in the field, they've seen and covered it all. And now they are here to take you behind the media.
You're going to have to embrace technology. If you're an educator,
I'm embracing it.
I want you to use the phone to help teach these kids.
You don't need to do that. I was covering the president in China, and we did a behind-the-scenes video. This is a gong, or
no, not a gong, a bong.
A bong.
With a B.
That's right. I said
the
gong.
Gong is a gong show.
I said gong.
Gong makes noise.
Bong.
Okay.
Why is it, Jimmy? Why?
Because sex sells, Dan.
True, but it's only part of the answer. It is. You have to be more creative now to be able to tell a story, and sometimes it's just a before and after picture and saying which one do you want to be. Wait, what? Report the news the way the president wants it? You've got to be kidding. Nope. No, we're not. Somebody at Fox said that.
The New York Times launches 2 commercials to sell newspapers and win the hearts of a skeptical public.
Why did Google employees around the world walk off the job?
Probably for the same reason the chicken crossed the street. And bites behind the media, including a Trump supporter's apology to CNN's Jim Acosta.
Ooh, I can't wait to talk about
Instagram's new election sticker and artificial intelligence lending a hand to snapping photos.
I need that. In a world where everyone is taking pot shots at the media, we're teetering on a seesaw, delivering balance. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So this really should fall under the category of fake news, and I wish it were.
I don't know what's fake, real, made up.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
But in this, I actually saw it. I read it.
I saw it and
I
read it,
heard
too.
it.
I heard it.
And
I saw the comments after.
Yeah, there are comments. There is plenty of evidence to lead to the conclusion that our ears and our eyes are not deceiving us. This really was said. What kind of world are we living in where the host of a show thinks it is okay to say that we should all bow down to the president of the United States as journalists, and if he says don't report something because if you do, I'll be mad at you, that you should actually listen to it. I mean, this is ludicrous. I can't even believe we're having this conversation, Jimmy.
How many times have we said, I cannot believe this
Yes,
is happening in
right.
America?
You're right. We
That's
have
really
said
what that hat should say. Forget about making it great.
Ooh,
is I
very
can't
nice.
believe this is happening in America.
Quick, Stephen, can you make sure that that is available to us on the we can get the website? I can't believe this is happening in America. Let's order up some hats and T-shirts and everything else.
And as we laugh and giggle and kid about this, as we both know, this is an extremely serious issue.
It is.
And it reeks of politics because of the timing of it, Dan.
It reeks of communism.
That's true. Is it communism or fascism?
Whatever you call it.
Right.
It seems as if the kind of thing that would happen in Russia, in China, in many of these countries where we don't
North
value,
Korea?
Yeah, North Korea. Oh, why? How did I
Forget
not
about
include that?
one.
That
Come
should
on,
have been
don't
at the
forget
top
about
of the
North
list.
Korea, because I think they're hanging out together. The Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump reality TV show.
Oh,
Can you
my
imagine
goodness.
a pay-per-view on that one?
I would actually pay a lot of money for that.
See, that's what I mean. It'd
Yeah,
be
I would
a
definitely
fly
pay.
on the wall
I
to their
would
conversations.
pay money, and I don't. You know me.
I know, you're
I
not
don't
very-
like paying for
No,
programming.
no.
But I would pay for that. Stephen, do you think does that exist? Does that website did anyone scoop that up or not?
I'm not seeing it.
You're not sure. Okay,
It's a-
maybe there's something we can make some money with that. But this is
This is serious. We're giggling because
right.
it's futile.
so bad.
It's so
that
bad.
it's funny.
Yeah,
you know how that
yeah,
is.
it's
Like
sick.
you laugh at something that's sick,
yeah,
and you
that-
shouldn't.
But
But you
we should
do.
all be crying.
We should be crying. Yes, but I think we've cried enough, Jimmy. There's no more tears.
no more
left
tears
in this here
left.
bucket.
That's right. Well,
so here it is. So the offender in all of this is Ainsley Earhart, I guess is her name. She's part of the panel at Fox and Friends. And, Fox and Friends says a lot of interesting things. And I'm not, look, I think there's good that happens on that show. A lot of people love it. But there are times where there are things that are so far out there that you have to call it out. And this is one of those. And basically what she said, and this was all part of the discussion around this interview that President Trump had on HBO with Axios,
Right.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, do you know what Axios is?
it's a program on HBO. How'd I do? Because I'll be honest with you, it's the first time I've ever even heard of the program.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I'm
so
down on
here's
HBO.
a quick what would be the Cliff Notes version
I actually
of what
watched
Axios
the
is.
interview
So
because I knew we'd be
Oh, good.
talking about this.
Well, but there's more to the whole Axios thing. So Axios is a relatively new company.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Allen, who's one of the co-founders of Politico and a former colleague of mine.
I knew he'd be a former
Right.
colleague of yours.
By the way, as an aside.
Mine
now-
are all in jail.
now,
No,
this is, as an aside,
Yes.
I remember when I was traveling with the president, we were going to Saudi Arabia. That was the first time I got to know Mike Allen. And we were on this bus with curtains headed into wherever the venue was that we were going. And he had this tiny camera, and he was doing a play-by-play of everything that was going on in this bus. He goes, Dan, what do you think of all of this? And I went, this is good. I mean, I was a little suspicious of it. This is the guy who has become quite famous for getting sort of the inside story on what's going on in Washington. He gets these little tidbits. He's at dinner parties. He's everywhere. Anyway, he left
Is he
Politico.
recording wherever he goes?
He is.
Well,
He's
that's
always
an
recording
issue.
something wherever he goes.
Yes.
He gets really juicy information.
Yeah.
He started this newsletter, a media newsletter. Anyone who was anyone wanted to get it in their mailbox in the morning because if your name was in it, woo, you were somebody, right? So anyway, made money with Politico and went off and started Axios, which was basically another version, a new age, a newer version, a more updated in terms of what they offer version of what he was doing over at Politico. So there, that kind of gives you. So Axios, it's a new digital platform that was started by Mike Allen and another guy who started Politico as well. So anyway, we digress.
Which we do very well on
Right.
this
So
show.
there was this interview that Axios done. So they have this new, it's a series that they have with HBO. And they did an interview with President Trump, and he was part of that interview. He was defending his use of enemy of the people when referring to reporters, right?
He said it's his only thing he could do to fight back.
Right, really?
Great.
He's the president
That's
of
great.
the United States.
Right.
And he needs to call us bad names in order to fight back. Makes no sense.
No, what? Yeah.
So
we are talking about the POTUS.
Right. So so as part of this conversation on Fox News, on the morning show, Fox and Friends, Ainsley then said, he's saying if you don't want to be called the enemy, then get the story right but accurate and report the story the way I want it reported. Now,
I want it reported.
Right. So the first part of that, I thought, okay, what's wrong with the comment that she said? He's saying if you don't want to be called the enemy, then get the story right and be accurate, right? I don't agree that you should call anyone the enemy, but certainly not reporters. But that makes sense, right? You should try to get it right. Make sure that what you're reporting is accurate. But when she says the way I want it reported, she's supporting this claim from the president. That's where the car or the train or the bus, everything goes off the rails.
Nice. Yeah, she's blown up her credibility at that point when she says, "Oh yeah, I could see that."
And then Brian Kilmeade, another person on that show as well, says, quote, "I think that's a good point." Really?
Wow.
You think that's a good point?
Why don't they just change from FOX to TRUMP? Isn't that
for a while I was going to say, what does that spell?
Well, after all, we've talked about this. I've mentioned this many times. He did not expect to win the presidential election.
He didn't.
And I expected him to start his own media company.
Right. Which he did, sort of.
Which is
on Twitter.
He's really trying. Right. Well, he's taking over
company.
Twitter.
Right.
Yeah. I'm disgusted. I am upset. I'm embarrassed. All of the above. He's slapping every journalist in the face by calling them the enemy of the people.
And now you have these hosts now slapping us in the face again by saying that's okay. And you know what? Here is the problem that I have. So it's one thing for the president to say things and for either you support him or you don't support him, but it is what it is, right? But then all of a sudden you have well-known entities such as a news operation that starts buying into that. And it almost feels as if we're starting to normalize a lot of things. And as you pointed out at the top of this podcast, that we keep saying, I can't believe it or whatever it may be, sort of the shock with every event. Are we normalizing craziness?
Yeah. I think that we have someone in Washington, D.C. who's feeding the craziness button. It's just – and by the way, he is enabling the hateful doctrine to continue. He's giving these the word crazy is, I got problems with that. I mean, we get that there are mental illnesses amongst humans now,
right.
and I'm not belittling that, and I don't like to call people names that aren't substantiated, but when they do really odd things
right.
that question their behavior and their sanity, the word crazy does come to mind.
It does,
okay.
Yes.
All right. That being said,
yes,
it still reflects on what this guy has done since he got in, even before he got in the office. His use of Twitter, his ability to fire up the masses is so dangerous to our democracy because it's his way or the highway.
Well, and he has,
and now you've got journalists who basically buying into it.
Right, and that's the problem. I mean, the key here is that we can't really control what the president says.
That's for sure.
He does what he wants to do.
Whenever he wants to, as long as it has something to do about him.
And that's something that we can't control. Okay, I get it. But it's this notion that once reporters, if you want to call it that, or hosts or broadcast entities or news outlets start, as opposed to reporting on something or reflecting on something, start agreeing and saying, yeah, this is okay, maybe we should do it. That's where we're normalizing this kind of thing. And that's where you get then people looking at that show and go, yeah, that does make sense. People who maybe a few years ago, had you said something like that reporters should just report the news the way the president wants to, would say, what country are you living in? They would be shocked by a statement like that. But now all of a sudden it starts normalizing these outrageous remarks, these outrageous statements, to the point where it starts making sense.
Yeah. And do you know, since you know who's been in office, that hate crimes have increased in this country?
Yeah, and I don't know. Here's the thing. And this is an aside, because we're delving sort of into the president and his and the fallout with people in America beyond just media, just what it stokes and the fears and so forth. There is no doubt that words have an impact, have actions behind them, right? This whole thing of sticks and stones may hurt your bones, but words will never hurt you, right?
Yeah, they do, though.
Words hurt.
Yeah, in fact,
words can hurt much harder, deeper than sticks and stones. You know why? Because I don't necessarily remember when someone hit me with a stick or a stone when I was a kid, but I remember the words.
Oh, God, yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, okay, did someone club me, punch me, kick me, whatever? Yeah, but I don't really remember. At the time, it hurts, but the stuff that really sticks with you are the words.
And there's more words being spewed through non-traditional media now, through social media, than ever before. You remember the saying back in the day before we had the internet,
yes,
way back when,
yes,
even before there was cable TV and it was black and white TV.
Oh my, that was back before cars had wheels.
Do you remember when you got something in the newspaper, your name in the newspaper, your whatever, a quote of yours in the newspaper, it's forever.
It was stuck there.
And it's in print.
Yes.
And it must be true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because at that time we actually had respect for journalists. We knew that these people were actually doing their job of finding out the facts, making the calls, checking the sources. They were all doing that because they weren't worried about the 24/7 news cycle like we have now.
And it's not to say they didn't make mistakes. Some of the stuff may not have been all 100% correct, but there was this effort to make sure that it was correct, true, right.
It is
factual.
the permanent record of the words.
Right.
So sometimes if you're walking down the street and one other person comes up to you and says something to you, and you two are the only people that have heard what that person said, it's your word against their word about what they said.
Right.
Once that word is recorded and then reported, it becomes part of the public record.
Yes, it
now
does.
that you have people who have the power to
report it and
report it, record it, and
push it out there.
Push it out there.
Yeah, yeah.
That means the inmates are in charge of the asylum now,
and the inmates are everywhere.
And I'm not belittling the challenges of people and the stresses that humans are under, and some of the horrible diseases when your chemical insides are all messed up and your brain just is not working like it should have worked.
Wait, yeah. Do our brains work though?
Sometimes they do, and sometimes I shut them off. Or mine,
as a friend
anyway.
of mine said this morning, you don't want to be inside my head right now.
No.
Okay, I'd be wearing a helmet.
How quickly do we react now when the tweets of the leader of the free world become part of the daily conversation in our traditional media?
Well, and I think that's part of a broader problem, whether we should report every single thing that is tweeted out there or whether we should hold back. You'll get criticized either way. So I
said this on this show.
Right.
Stop reporting his tweets.
At the same time, I also believe that knowledge is power. And so while it might be painful in the process, giving information, albeit wrong information, if you're reporting on the president is what I'm talking about.
But he's using wrong information.
I know. It's a tough balance. You have to report. You can't ignore the president of the United States. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it's in balance anymore, Dave.
Well, no, it's way off balance.
Off kilter.
But back to the issue here, though, Jimmy. How do we fix this? So when you have not fixed the president or fixed the president's tweeting, how do you fix this normalizing of rhetoric by hosts on morning shows? And look, I'm sure that if you're on the right, you can point to good examples of this same kind of thing happening on the left. there are a lot of valid arguments that are made against Don Lemon at CNN. He throws a lot of flames out there. It could be from the heart. It could be for ratings. Whatever it is, he engages in a lot of this kind of activity. So what do we do about that? What do we do about this kind of hateful or crazy rhetoric that are being put out there by TV hosts that are normalizing some of that? What do we do? I mean, we're doing something about it. We're talking about it on this podcast. Is it time for other journalists to also start calling out their colleagues in times like these?
I think what has happened, and I don't think it's ever, there's such an adversarial relationship now between the media and this president. I don't think you can cure the only.
But I'm not talking about the adversarial directly with the president. I'm saying, is it time for the media to start calling out each other? So by
the way, that happens on sports talk radio all the time.
They do. You're right.
And
so there you go.
It is
Good
horrible.
Example.
It's horrible.
Well, but is there?
Because now the journalist becomes the story, not what started the story.
Yeah, but maybe that's what
which
we
is
need.
an inflammatory remarks. Oh, so the people will just sit in the studio and shout at each other all day long.
Well, no, I think it's not all day long. I think that when you see something, say something, right? Isn't that what you hear at the airport?
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
If you
not
know
just at
of
the
something
airport,
or elsewhere,
right?
It's if you see something or hear something harmful, then you should say something about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's time for us as reporters or hosts or whatever it may be, if you see another network that says something, does something that could potentially be harmful, as in normalizing crazy speak for everybody, we need to call it out. And that's what we're doing, and I hope others will join.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you do talk about it. You do point it out. You do, but it is. Look, we're coming up to the midterm elections within 5 days of this recording, okay?
Yeah.
Every American citizen has the right, if they've registered to vote, to go to the polls and get behind the curtain and mark the X's next to the boxes they'd like to mark, okay? Unfortunately, that's the only way things, I think, are going to get changed.
But that's the politics of it, Jimmy.
Yes, I know.
What I'm talking
about
is
because you've got a politician who's a madman.
But what I'm talking about is the reporting of the politics.
Yep.
It's the transmission of the message that's coming from the politicians. And so voting isn't going to change that.
We could change the politicians.
No, well, you could, but what I'm saying is it time for reporters, is it time for people in media to start voting, if you will, with their voice when others are conducting bad behavior? And by others, I'm saying others in the industry.
So you're saying again.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
We've talked about this almost ad nauseum, that the human in media, it's difficult for the human in media to not have their own personal bias in their reporting. It's a challenge for every journalist who goes out there, especially when you are immediately under attack for whatever comes out of your mouth.
Right.
Even if it is approved by POTUS.
Right. Even if it's approved
by POTUS, right? Because this happened. That's a fact. POTUS said, yes, this happened. Oh, now we could go with the story, because he's approved it.
Right.
I mean, this is America. This is democracy. We're not doing this. You're invalidating an entire industry.
You are. No, you are. You are.
And by the way, you're slapping the face of the Constitution.
Yes, you
are. And the First Amendment, right?
Yes, you are. Exactly.
I mean, come on.
I think clearly what this host did is wrong. That has no place in this country. It's time for all of us to continue harping on the fact that kind of behavior will not be tolerated. And I'll talk about it until I'm green in the face, and that would be interesting.
Then you'd be from Mars.
Then I would be from Mars.
That's right.
Yes.
Anyway. And we have nothing against people from Mars.
No, we are
Just
equal opportunity show.
Yes, we are.
So if you come on from Mars as a Martian, you'd like to offer your take.
Right.
We'd love to hear it. And by the way, whether you're from Mars or not, let us know if you like this episode. Reach out to us on Facebook using the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. And have questions or comments, reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Why does the New York Times want you to know how rigor and perseverance relates to their journalism. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit mackweldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So, the New York Times launches 2 commercials.
These are promotional messages.
Right.
Let's not confuse. There's a difference.
These are commercials for the purpose of selling newspapers.
It's a promotional message.
Right.
No one paid for this announcement. The Times paid for the production of the promotional spot.
Right. And basically they're saying buy newspapers.
Right.
And their numbers, their digital numbers are way up. I saw some stats somewhere recently that their numbers are way up. Do you have those stats? Did you see
I
it?
do. I do.
Yeah, I mean,
they have more than 4 million total subscriptions and over 3 million digital-only subscriptions.
Wow. So they're growing online.
Right. Which it does not surprise me.
Right.
In fact, a lot of these ratings, whether it's traditional TV ratings or traditional radio ratings, you cannot tell me that listenership and readership isn't up because more people have access to this than ever before.
And I think more people are engaged now because there's so much going on in the country that there's reason for people to get involved and engaged.
Okay. I think you're wrong.
No, why am I wrong?
Because I know a ton of people who now can't watch the news anymore.
You know
they
what?
Are tuning it out.
They're telling you they're tuning it out.
They're closet people. They're closet readers.
Yes, they are. Well, it's just like all the people. How many people tell you that they read the tabloids? Have you ever met someone who reads the tabloids?
Yeah.
You have?
Sure.
Well, it's your crowd.
By the way, my favorite Martian. I mean, it was one of my favorite shows, and he was in all the tabloids.
I think people tell you what they want, they think you want to hear.
Right.
It is part of the cool thing to say now, I'm tuning it out, I'm burying my head. But you know what? Just ask a few questions, you'll find out that they do know. They're getting it from somewhere. It's coming across on their device. They're paying attention to what's going on. I think people are thirsty for information, whether they will admit it or not.
I think that they are thirsty for things that drive you crazy and
there you
drive
go.
your
so you're agreeing
information.
With me,
I'm disagreeing and agreeing with you at the same time, and I do that so well.
I'm able to get people to do that.
Yeah, well, because there are certain things you're saying that I agree with, and
okay.
You can't escape from social media, Dan.
No, you can't.
You cannot in this 21st century, in 2018, you cannot escape from, even if I don't go on Twitter.
No.
Okay?
No.
But I haven't.
That's because you lost your login or something.
No, I have my login. I know what my login is and my password, wise guy. But I just don't want to push out my thoughts to people, and then they'll follow me for those. It's just one of those things.
It's not your thing.
It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still doing email.
I think
like
they should come up with a Twitter for old people.
Twitter for old people.
There
That
you go.
means I still have to take the time and create something.
No, it'll have big buttons.
Big buttons.
and all you do is you hit this one or hit that one, and you just maybe talk into it, and it happens.
I think you should just be able to watch the Hallmark Channel, Sci-Fi Channel, all the other fantasy feel-good stuff. Yeah, I know.
But
look, the individual's still in charge of what they watch, when they watch, where they get it, where they don't want to watch, what they want to listen to, and we're all influenced by this thing that has become social media.
That's true. And now what the New York Times is trying to do is to influence you with a promo, as you pointed out, for people to buy more copies of their newspaper, or the ones that go thud on your front doorstep, or the ones that go ding, you have a message on your computer or your device. But at the same time, they want to make a message about a very loud message, a convincing message about journalism.
Well, they're respecting their employees, too. They're trying to show that, hey, we've got a lot of people who are still dedicated to finding out the truth or digging behind facts or checking out facts and seeing if they're actually accurate or not. And, but the problem is the mistrust by our POTUS is really a reason why New York Times had to do this.
Well, not just by the president, but I think by people in general. I mean, there is a large swath of the country that if you say New York Times or say mainstream media,
right,
they'll go liars, crooks, whatever. You know, the things that
we used to say about the politicians.
Well,
sorry.
Exactly. Now
But
it's being said about us.
That's
You're
right.
What, did you watch the commercials, by the way, these promos?
I did.
First of all, from a production standpoint, for those of you who have not seen this, there are two 30-second commercials. One is called The Truth is Worth It. Rigor is the first one. And the second one is The Truth is Worth It. Perseverance. So same first part of the name. One is rigor. One is perseverance. From a production standpoint, Jimmy, and I encourage everyone to go and look those up. Could you follow the speed at which words were being thrown on the screen?
Well, not really, but it was like a
Dun, 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 dun. It was hard driving.
It was like Hollywood movies. It was a Hollywood trailer.
Like a trailer.
Right, to just
you catch every third word.
That's right.
So
you get the gist of it.
You get the gist of it.
Okay, a lot of people working hard on getting the truth.
That's the gist of it. But if you were to slow it down, what you're seeing is basically a peek behind the curtain. It's the New York Times.
I'm slowing it down.
Now if you do it backwards, you'll hear.
That's right. Paul is dead.
Right.
Sorry.
But it is a way for them to sell newspapers and sell the process. And
it's a
by
business.
The process, it is. But so the process is, first of all, it's how they came about doing the story on the Trump family
taxes,
and
taxes,
right?
The avoidance of taxes that this guy's been able to do over the years.
I think it was an unbelievable investigation which went thud. I mean, and not thud in a positive way. It got lost in the noise of the moment, and no one really cared about that story, even though they had spent years trying to get their hands on these taxes and trying to decipher what it all meant.
I think the people that really know about the operation of what this guy has done over the years were not surprised by it.
No, they weren't, but it didn't get the kind of attention. It was good journalism that didn't really get attention.
Right.
The other one is the immigration, which there's been a lot of focus, I think, on immigration and the move to the border by folks from Honduras and so forth.
And the troops.
The troops
the
going
amount
to
of
the border.
troops that he's throwing down there.
But it's what they're trying to do in these ads, in these promos, is show that there's a process of getting documents, talking to sources, confirming, getting multiple sources, making phone calls, rechecking the facts. There is a process. So if you're sitting out there pointing the finger and saying, oh, you guys are just making up, watch these ads, see how much hard work goes into it. In fact, using some sound from reporters working the phones, whether it's real sound or not, I don't know, it seems convincing, showing that there is this big process that goes into assembling the information that ultimately ends up in the paper and trying to restore trust among a group of people that are skeptical at this moment.
Absolutely. And get back to the production of promotional material for a second.
Yeah.
In the days when we were both involved with traditional media, the promotion department always had these very odd ways of promoting the talent or the journalists that are on the staff.
Yes.
They would come up with odd ideas to do this.
Right.
I mean, I think we've both been in, really? You want me to read this? And you want me to act, like doctors on TV that pose, pose as a news anchor. Hey, let me show you how I nod when I listen.
Exactly.
Okay. But I always said the best promotions are when you are showcasing what the job is. Mm-hmm. Show the people behind the scenes, putting the stories together, doing the editing, combing the wires, the internet.
The internet.
What's a wire?
I don't know. A wire is something that carries sound from one end to another or phone signals.
That's right. AP,
Although
the Associated Press.
Now.
The Associated Press, which, by the way, actually picked me completely by chance to fill out a form, a poll that I recently filled out.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I found it interesting.
It was about which farmer's market you like?
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with it. It had to do with journalism who did what and why, and do you believe this and don't believe that, and blah, 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 and all that neat stuff. And needless to say, you know which way I lean, so you understand what the lessons are.
Yes.
Anyway, push that button again so we can get our logo back up.
And what? By the way, yes.
For those of
you,
the point being, showcase what you do best. What the New York Times does best is check sources, asks questions. They do their job. They actually take notes and check facts that they get from those questions that they've talked to various people about. They're doing their job. That's why it is a very powerful promotional message that the Times has put together, because it does show the process of what goes into being a journalist.
Now, the big question, the $64,000 question is, does it matter? Because are you preaching to the choir? Those who already believe in good journalism will look at that and go, oh, that's nice, but they're not going to go out and buy the paper because they're already buying the paper. They're reading it. Those who are skeptical and think the New York Times is nothing but a crock of pile of you know what, will look at that and go, oh, really? Tooting your own horn about that? We don't believe you anyway. Will it make a difference, or do you still have to do that even if you may only win over one convert?
I think it's very simple. The facts are in the numbers.
Yes.
And if you look at the size and the increase of their digital subscribers,
You think it's working?
I think it's working.
And that has to be coming not from believers, but people who've been won over, you think? At least a certain portion of it.
Right, on either side, But there are more people getting their news now digitally than traditionally, which had been over the air, which doesn't even, barely it exists, but no one's using over the air as much as they used to, let's just say.
Okay. Well, we'd love to hear your comments on this. Would a commercial that tells you about how the sausage is made at the New York Times woo you from being skeptical and critic to believer?
Or turn into a vegan.
And let us know. How do I top that? Oh my goodness. That one caught me off guard. I could barely focus. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. Have any questions or comments? Let us know at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. Our director, by the way, Stephen Helmuth, is just losing it. He's laughing. I'm turning up his audio here because you might hear a little bit of wheezing over there. He's at the control board, and Jimmy, you just tickled all of us.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. I'm a chief tickler. That's all I can say. The stuff that comes out of my brain, by the way, I am not responsible for, I've decided, okay?
A chief tickler. That's like something that you do when you're out there looking for lobsters. You know, there's a tickle stick that you use, but I've never thought of it in terms of a chief tickler.
It's my favorite food you're going after. Be careful. Be careful where you go, because the lobsters are bottom feeders for a reason.
I don't know how we can continue on. Anyway, good thing that this is halftime, where we could just sit back and take a little bit of a break.
Did I miss a bell?
You did miss the bell. Hit the bell. This show is powered by Mac Weldon, and who is not a chief tickler, I don't think, but it is a premium men's essentials brand, which Jimmy is being a tickler right now as he wiggles around in his seat because he happens to be wearing Mac Weldon's.
Yes, I am.
Yes, which you continue to be a true believer.
Yes, I am.
Whatever you are wearing right now, Mac Weldon is much better. Mac Weldon believes in smart designs, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. It's the winning formula. Mac Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants you've ever placed on your body. So get on board with the people who know. For 20% off your first order, visit MacWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. This show is also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So, boy, that was multiple rings from the bell, right?
Yes, it was.
So the big question now is, why did Google employees around the world walk off the job?
Because they can.
Because they can. But wait, there's more. First, though, welcome to this episode of Behind the Media. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
We find the interesting in media, so you don't have to crawl under your bed looking for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag Behind the Media to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mac Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MacWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS at checkout. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So usually when you walk off the job to protest, your job bosses, managers, they might be pretty upset. But in this case, they encouraged it.
Right.
Why?
Because it's good PR, Dan.
Well, it is good PR.
And also, I think their message is actually, look, everybody's message now about the Me Too movement, about women's rights, about equal pay for equal jobs, and all that stuff is universally being championed.
Right.
And if you're the Google CEO is not going to sit there and go, nope. Matter of fact, all of you now are laid off.
That's right. Walk off the job, lose
See you
your
later.
job.
That's right. That's not going. That'd be the
No.
worst absolute possible. And so what he did is he spun it the right way. He
That's
said,
right.
we support this.
We support it. Right. Even ahead of it, they put out a release saying,
Yep.
we support it. If you're going to do it, that's fine.
Right.
You're raising awareness about an issue that we find that's very important, and we plan to take action. Like
And then now the follow-up story begins.
What will they do?
Where will they and how will they take action against this? And it's amazing to me, Dan.
What, Jimmy?
So Google's a very successful company.
And it's a media company, by the
It
way.
is a media
For those of you who
company.
might be
Yes, it
sitting
is.
saying it's a search engine, no, I think last year it was officially declared a media company.
It's a media company.
Yes, it is.
And whenever companies grow, this is, I guess, more of a capitalism rant than anything else here.
That's okay. This is America.
But why is it that they are never satisfied with making this X amount of money? In other words, why do shortcuts have to be taken?
Yeah.
And why do people in power have to continue to maintain that power?
Right.
I mean, and by the way, there's a lot to do with the male gender here.
There is. Now, Jimmy, put yourself in the seat of the car that you are trying to get these questions answered about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is there ever a limit to how much money you want to make?
Me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
There is a limit.
Yeah.
So at some point,
I just want to be able to live.
No, yeah, but
Pay my bills.
But what I'm saying is that if you had the opportunity to make even more money, would you say, you know what? Actually,
Dan, I
I'm
have
not,
this problem.
No, Jimmy.
Yes, I
if
do.
you have the if someone walks up to you
Yes.
and said, Jimmy, today you can make $5,
Mm-hmm.
but if you work for another 24 hours, you make $100,000. Jimmy would say, nah, I'm happy with the $5. I don't need to work another 24 hours to make the $100,000. Am I accurate, Jimmy?
I suppose the correct answer to that would be, of course I would work for the 24 hours, Dan.
Okay, so you've proved my case. Businesses are in the business of making money.
Correct.
$5 is good. $10 is better.
Yep.
So is 20. So is 50. So I
But
think
how?
for argument
but
about that,
$90 million to be
it's
Andy
all
Rubin,
relative. It's
$90
more
million
money.
to say goodbye.
But you know what? But the issue is that at some point they won't be making that money. So you have to make money and you have to store money to make up for times when you don't have money. So that's the issue of money. I just wanted to clarify capitalism. And as you
but there are
pose
so
it.
many people
Now,
struggling in this society.
It's
paycheck
what
to paycheck.
That's true, Jimmy.
Okay?
Some of it is caused
And
by
the-
their own
and the
issues.
1%ers are continuing
All of that is true.
to get all the money.
That is true.
They're continuing to get the tax breaks.
That is true.
Courtesy of
That
our
is
pal
true.
down in D.C.
Yes. But
All right?
but the thing is, there's nothing wrong with a business wanting to make money. The problem comes, what do they do with the abundance that they have? That's for another discussion.
Right.
But that's the issue here. Now, to the issue of the male-dominated power structure within companies, right on, spot on. I agree with you on that. That's an issue at Google, and the reason that these employees were out protesting is because you have at least, as we know it, three well-known or top people within the company who were accused of sexual misconduct. They were, at least one I know, separated from the company with huge bonuses.
A $90 million.
Right.
Thanks for being here.
Exactly.
Goodbye.
And therein lies the biggest problem and what's driving these voices out on the streets. But not even those. There have been allegations of even more. And then the issue, and this ties into what you said earlier, Jimmy, the issue then becomes, are companies, media companies, and others, but certainly for our discussion, media companies, are they looking at money and success and growth as the big driver and covering up for impropriety by employees and leaders because they want the money, because they're so hungry to succeed that they let a lot of stuff slide for that reason.
I
and
know
I think that's the
happening in a
question.
company I'm familiar with right now. That personal behavior of employees, they're looking the other way because a person is able to drive revenue.
Right.
It happens a lot in sales, by the way.
And that's the bigger problem here. And again, we're speaking specifically about media companies in that they get sucked into, and I think it's good to make money. You need money in order to succeed. You need money in order to reward all the stockholders, the shareholders, who are not just the big millionaires, but a lot of people, as part of their mutual funds, have ownership in companies like Google and others out there. So we have to make that clear. But at the same time, companies can't continue to support, if you will, management that their rumors, their facts, there are all kinds of things, shady behavior that's going on, and you're excusing it because they're helping you to make a profit. I think that's where you take a step back and say, you know what, making money is important, but not at all costs.
Not at all costs. And again, I think that there's a disproportionate amount, and the gap between the 1%ers, the C-level managers and owners of a lot of these businesses, there's a bigger gap between them and their workers now than I think ever before. And I think we're heading down the wrong road with this. I think you're seeing interest rates climb. I think you're seeing and everybody can point to, we have tons of jobs available.
Yes.
Not for 61-year-old guys in media, I might add. But it is not as easy to get a job that you can actually support yourself on.
No, but
as you get older.
But I do think that there are a lot of opportunities within the startup world for people to make an immense amount of money. There are also a lot of opportunities for people in the startup world to lose a lot of money.
Right.
But I do think that there is a current environment that encourages innovation. And within media, we're seeing a lot of growth in this area. Where you have small digital media companies that get scooped up by big companies, and a lot of money is being made. But again, to the question of why these employees walked off the job, the issue is, as companies are growing and making more money, is there that ethical standard that becomes part of the DNA of that company that will root out bad behavior? And will not tolerate bad behavior for the sake of making a dollar.
Well,
and that's something that I think needs to be addressed. These employees walking off the job are drawing attention to it. The Me Too movement is doing that. At least you can talk about it now, and people don't just roll their eyes. People believe this stuff really does happen because we've seen it.
Yep. And men in power is a dangerous thing. And one of the I'm reading Jackson Katz's book, The Macho Paradox, which I really do recommend to any male out there, because you really do need to hear how we can change. We, being men, can change how society acts and works, and how we can respect others. But it's up to the male figure to change the attitude, to break away from the stereotype of the capitalist PIG, if you will.
Well, if you're a male and you're causing these kinds of actions, you're part of these actions.
It feeds it, though. It feeds your ego. It feeds that power thing and the money thing. It feeds it. It feeds it. It feeds. And don't tell me it's a necessary evil. Please, it is not.
No, it isn't.
You have to change. You have to start giving respect to the people who are doing a lot of the work for you, so you look good.
That's right. Yeah. If you see something, say something.
Yes.
Exactly.
And don't make it up.
Don't make it up, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this episode, let us know. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. Have any questions or comments? Reach out to us at info@littlepartmedia.com. That's info@littlepartmedia.com. It's time to take a bite out of the media. How'd you like that?
I did like that.
Yeah, take a bite out of the media. Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
Welcome to this edition of Behind the Media. We find the interesting in media, so you don't have to go searching for it. Like us on Facebook. Use the hashtag #BehindTheMedia to engage with us on Twitter. And listen on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. Today's episode is powered by Mack Weldon. It's a premium men's essentials brand. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com and enter promo code CLNS to check out. We're also powered by Little Part Media, where ideas come to life, producing corporate videos and podcasts to tell your story. For more, check out littlepartmedia.com or contact info@littlepartmedia.com. So Bites Behind the Media, for those of you who don't know, is where we give you little bits and pieces, kind of like the the finger foods at an event where you get little tastes of things that are going on, and then it empowers you to know everything when you're standing around the water cooler.
It's media tapas style.
Ooh, very nice.
Oh,
So
tapas.
the first
Tapas.
one,
Isn't
the
it
tapas.
tapas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first one being a Trump reporter with a heart and conscience, rather, a
Right,
Trump supporter.
Supporter. We
with
haven't
a-
got the reporter
No,
yet.
no, no.
Eventually, when it becomes Trump Media
That's
Network,
right. No,
that's when you'll get the reporter.
Right, I meant the Trump supporter.
Supporter.
Right, with a heart and a conscience, apologizes to Jim Acosta for flipping him off, giving him the bird. You remember, I think we talked
Yes,
about
we
it.
did talk about it.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so Jim
We're talking
Acosta
how
is
you
an
know the
event.
guy. Yeah, I got it.
he was the guy who took over after I left the White House. We've talked about how he's a showman. He loves to, get attention.
He's the
So-
polar opposite of Dan Lothian.
Yes, he is. Exactly. He's at the North Pole. I'm at the South Pole.
Yes.
But anyway, he's at an event, at a Trump-related event in Florida. A guy comes up, gives him the bird. There's lots said about it. He returns to Florida at another event. The same guy comes up to him, but this time he doesn't flip him off. In fact, he says, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
I like that.
You know what I like about that? And it's just a small slice.
It's getting attention.
Yes.
That's what I like. 'Cause
That's what I
usually
like.
it's the finger that gets the attention.
The number one finger
and
salute.
now
yeah.
it's the apology. And gosh, I'll tell you, boy, maybe
Isn't
this
that
guy-
refreshing?
I was going to say maybe this is an example that everybody needs to follow.
I think we need to make a big deal about this
Well,
because
well, I got to tell you,
Yeah.
look, and we go back to the guy in the White House. Everything to me reflects to
Yes.
him. When he starts saying something has to be done about this hateful doctrine and everybody, flipping out and all, I mean, what?
But this guy, I think,
I know.
is a good example of. We can look at Trump supporters and say, you know what, you can't color them all with one color of that paintbrush. You need to step back and say there are people who support President Trump who are good people. They get caught up in the moment, and those who can take a step back and reflect on what they said or what they did, now it's not to say that Jim Acosta doesn't deserve to get the middle finger sometimes. I think that people have a valid argument to make when this discussion comes up, but that's not the way that grown-ups should be acting. And I applaud this Trump supporter who steps forward and said, you know what? I got caught up in the moment. I overreacted. I shouldn't have done that. And for that, I'm sorry. And that's a real man.
Can he get to the guy down on Pennsylvania Ave and kind of teach him that?
That's
maybe?
for
saying.
another bite.
Okay.
So the Obamas, as we know, they're getting into the whole media business.
Yes,
right?
they are.
They have a deal with Netflix, apparently.
Yeah.
And we don't know exactly what they're going to do with that deal, but there's some indication that they might be flirting around with a book that was written about the transition between Obama and President Trump. This book is called The Fifth Risk. It's a nonfiction book, and
that means it's the truth.
It's
just putting that out there.
Anyway, they bought the rights to this.
Yes, they did. Sure.
And
Why not?
so
good.
We think that this might
like
be
good
something that
content.
we think that this is something that might make it into the pipeline of their new venture with Netflix. And by the way, if you want to know about what the fifth risk is all about, it quote exposes the chaos that followed during the transition between the Obama administration and the Trump administration in the Department of Energy, Agriculture, and Commerce. So very specific to these agencies of the time. They have bought the rights to it, so we should expect that perhaps this will show up in some form at a theater or at a small screen near you.
Yes, they will. Hey, did you know that HBO is now not available on the Dish network? It's
No, I
the
did not know
first
that.
time in 40 years
Wow.
that programming has been blocked at
Really?
a distribution partner over a contract dispute.
So
it's HBO.
HBO got dished?
Oh, I like that.
yes.
Got dissed by Dish.
Right.
Dissed by Dish.
Yes.
And it is Dish, and of course, the two companies failed to reach a new distribution agreement. And I'll be honest, this happens a lot
Yeah.
in these kinds of things. And,
They do it to negotiate.
And the negotiation begins when one party walks away from the table.
Yes. If
you don't have any leverage,
if you don't have any
that's
leverage.
the only thing you got left is to walk
Exactly.
away.
Right.
Well,
sometimes you got to know when to hold them
That's
and
right.
know when to fold them.
That's a good song.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
a
that.
that's a
a
song.
good
I
song.
came up with those lyrics as I borrowed them from a very popular song.
Yes, you did. All right. So one more bite.
Yes.
Did you know that?
And by the way, this is BYTE for those of you who are keeping
Why?
score. Not a what?
Why?
That's what I said.
I know.
Oh, right. Not BITE.
Who? Sorry.
Jimmy's on a roll today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm whacked in the head. That's what it is. Hey, speaking of which, Facebook.
Yes.
Our
They're
friends
whacked
at
in the
Facebook.
head?
Since we're
Yeah.
whacked in the head.
Yes.
Since we are live streaming on their
Yes.
service, then thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Facebook.
Mr. Zuckerberg.
Yes,
Actually,
please.
Mrs. Zuckerberg, not Mr. Facebook.
Right.
Although you could call it could be a Mrs. Facebook.
At this point, just don't call them late to dinner.
Yes.
But you can call them in this. They're going through a big transition. Did you know this?
No. Maybe.
You know that they
No.
bought Snapchat, right?
Yes, I think so.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So now the future of Facebook is in what they call stories.
Oh, yes.
Stories. It's shifting its focus to stories, where users post photos and videos that scroll across their screens and eventually disappear.
Oh, the vanishing
Does that sound
stories.
like Snapchat
Yes,
to you?
it does. Yes.
So that's what they think is the future of it.
That's why they buy these things, so they can
Right.
have the technology.
Exactly.
Yes.
Use the technology, copy it, and make
Yeah,
it better.
That's what I
That's
do.
the American way.
Yeah, that's why I buy
there's
companies left and
capitalism.
right to steal their intellectual property.
That's right.
That it becomes
So-
my intellectual
And here's
property.
here's one more Facebook bite that I have to
Yes.
throw in there.
A BYT.
Okay? Vice News.
Yes.
You know Vice News.
I know of them.
Know of
yes,
them, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't know Mr. Vice personally,
So
but
they decided to put Facebook's vow of political transparency to the test by applying to buy fake ads on behalf of
From
100
politicians.
real
Yes.
senators.
Yep, that's right.
Okay? Facebook approved all the requests.
Yes, they did.
And and I'm going to explain to you why, because it goes back to capitalism
Money!
again.
It's money.
When politicians buy ads, they have to pay the highest price.
They do.
The rate card
Election time
price.
is sweet money.
It's
for
really
media
how the
companies.
politicians fuel the media industry in
Right.
many ways.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, these politicians, they stay in office or get into office because people vote them in. And Instagram is now handing out a I voted sticker.
That's right. Good.
Yes.
We like that.
You like that
I'm
transition,
voting.
by the
I'm
way.
voting on Election Day,
Yes.
and I am exercising my American
Yeah.
citizenship
So,
by
and
doing
you were talking
so.
about stories. Well, if you have a story on Instagram, then you can have a virtual I voted sticker that appears on that. There's also a quote, we voted stories button that shows up to everyone you follow who has voted and uses a sticker. So
And-
there's a lot. This is all part of engagement. I'm trying to get people motivated to go out there and vote if they can see that. I mean, after all, we all supposedly, well, I do. You wear a little sticker. You get a real sticker in the
I
real
saw it.
world.
I like your sticker.
Yes,
Dan.
I like. That's
And
the
I-
only
and
kind of
because
sticker I wear on
because-
my clothing.
I was going to say, because you got one, I went out and I got a sticker.
Oh, you
too.
copycat.
I am a copycat.
You got sticker happy.
I did.
So not sticker shock, but
Right,
sticker happy.
sticker happy.
And you wear those in the real world. Why not have it
Right.
in the Instagram
and
world?
I don't care which way you lean, what party you're affiliated with.
Just vote.
Just vote.
You can't complain if you ain't voting.
Right.
Finally, AI. There's a new trend in smartphone photography, and that is if you can't take a good picture, let Mr. AI do it. We're talking about artificial intelligence, and they're building in the capability into our phones, whereby you just point, and if the lighting is bad, it adjusts the lighting. If the thing
love
is
that.
it basically takes the brain out of thinking when you're taking a shot.
A
It will-
selfie, especially a selfie,
a
too.
selfie, whatever it is, you want to get these professional photos.
Point and shoot, baby. I'm
that's-
all about point and shoot, auto exposure, auto
but
auto
you know
that.
what? What are we doing? We are setting up the future generation to not understand the function of getting the picture right. Like they're not going to, you focus, you do this, you add more lighting, all of these things that help us in life in general of making things look better. We don't learn that if we're letting the thing do it for us.
Yeah,
it's lazy picture taking.
Yeah, and what does that say about our society, Dan? Because
Lazy
basically,
picture takers.
that's right. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier, and this is
Yes.
another example of an attempt to do that.
Stephen, you're young. Good or bad? You like that?
I'd like to learn the skills of how to set it up because
Yeah.
what happens if all the fancy technology fails?
Ooh,
No,
I like
technology
that.
never fails.
I like that. I'm so glad.
Oh, wait,
that
it
we have
failed earlier,
we have
didn't it? Sorry.
We have someone here who's younger than the
Both
two
of us.
Both of
That's
us,
right.
who actually thinks it's a good idea to do it the old school way.
Yeah, but he's a rarity, and that's probably one of the reasons why we like him so much, right?
Maybe that's what it is.
Right.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's been great. Wonderful show. Lots of great bites here. Again, you can always check all of these out. Just Google the various different ones, and you'll get more informed. But at least we teased you a little bit, right? Thanks for listening and enjoying this podcast. We know you enjoyed it because we did. Like it, share it, Keep listening on iTunes and the CLNS Media Network. For our director, Steve Helmuth, I'm Dan Lothian.
And I'm Jimmy Young.
And now you know what's behind the media.